Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by SoundCloud Studios, brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Moses Missing, available on Amazon paperback and ebook. Coming soon, Missing 2, double the suspense, double the fun. Check it out on Amazon. Also brought to you by Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of David, including 30 exquisite paintings and King David Psalms. Amazon.com, keyword Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner, and check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com. 50 podcast platforms, 110 countries. Follow us on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, BitChute, Rumble, and LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and more. We're here with an amazing lady who is a New York City children's author, began her career in the third grade, announcing she was going to be an author. We'll talk about that. Graduated from law school and serving as a strategic communications consultant at Deloitte. Also focused on sharing the humor found in uniquely tumultuous world of the tweens, and a new book, which is about 11 and 3/4 old Noodle Newman at Camp Hillside. We'll talk more about that in the Camp Hillside series. Live, ladies and gentlemen, plus studios in beautiful downtown New York City. The amazing author from New York's children's author began a career in third grade, announcing she's going to be an author, and she's fulfilling her dream. The multi-talented Steph Katzovi. Steph, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mike. I'm so excited to be here.
It's great to have you on board. And you're a New York City children's author. You began a career in third grade, announcing you're going to be an author. Looks like you held your bargain, which is good. Most people don't do
Yeah,
that.
it took me a couple of years since third grade, but I made it.
And that's right too. You get down the fifth, a bit more on that. You graduate from law school, serving as strategic communications consultant at Deloitte. You're focused on sharing the human found in uniquely tumultuous world of tweens. You have a new book about 11 3/4 old Noodle Newman at Camp Hillside with friends and her own radio show, and Dream It'd Be a Sensation. You also have your first book about the same noodle and going to camp for the first time and becomes a disaster. The books are called Miscommunicamp and Her Camp, part of the Camp Hillside series. Before getting all that stuff, tell us how you first got started.
Well, as you mentioned, I was thinking about becoming an author back in third grade. I had an essay from the English teacher of what do you want to be when you grow up? And, I know a lot of kids don't take those essays seriously, but apparently I did. And when I was in third grade, I said I wanted to become an author. And what's remarkable, because I actually have a copy that my mom had saved for me.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I went back and looked at what I wrote when I was, a young kid, and I said, I want to be an author. I like writing stories. I like making people laugh. I'm not sure I'll make a lot of money. It would be nice if I did, but that's also okay if I don't. I just really enjoy making characters and, having interesting things to share. And what's really ironic about that is I fast forward to my age now, which is far older than third grade. And I still have the same philosophy. I still love to make characters that people can relate to, things that make you laugh, things that make you think, things hopefully that don't make you cry, but maybe give you a moment's pause. And I think the fun of writing for me comes from being able to just go through that whole series of emotions and keep you entertained and engaged along the way. And one of the things I love to focus on is the positivity that we have both as children and as adults. And so most of my books feature an element of something that the main character may not have realized she had inside of her, but through the course of the story, it comes out and she realizes that it's kind of like a superpower, like confidence or the power of friendship. And so, these are themes I really enjoy exploring. And it was a pause, when I went to college and law school, but, this was the dream that I wanted to come back to. And I'm so grateful and fortunate that I had the opportunity to do so.
And that's certainly great as well, too. Usually kids make up their minds by the fifth grade and they have it down, but you seem to be like 2 years ahead. And of course, I thought about, going back to my third grade, thinking about maybe be on a microphone somehow. People thought it was crazy, ridiculous, doing sports. Fifth grade, I guess I inadvertently found myself, doing some reporting, like say, hey, so-and-so's doing this, so-and-so doing that. But it's all things that you really don't know until it comes out. And of course, Noodle Newman being about 11 3/4 old, I guess she's trying to figure out what she wanted to do.
Yeah, I think, well, for me, one of the great secrets I'll share with you is that the main character is sort of a better version of who I was as a child. So it's fun and interesting to explore that side of myself. but yeah, she's like me, I think, and like many people are trying to figure out who they are, what makes them happy, what, motivates them, what's their passions, and, just the way to explore that in the context of a story. And in my case, I have two published, and I have one that I am in the process of editing. So I just finished the first draft of the third book and probably the final book in the series. But yeah, it's all about the human experience, and I think the relatability that comes from finding commonality with, even if it's a fictional character, it's something that brings us together as people, and I think that's what makes me tick as a writer.
And I think it certainly does. And besides announcing in third grade you want to be an author, what was that one other exact precise moment that simply influenced you into what you do in the rest of your career? No words, light bulb moment.
You know what? I think it was probably when you got that black and white composition notebook. I don't know if you had that where you used it for writing essays.
I remember that. I've got plenty of it, except can't dig them up. But well, maybe does this count or something like that? So
Yeah, for me, it was getting a place to write and to share, my ideas, my thoughts. And as I learned from, the grades that I got when I was younger and all through the rest of my academic career, I did very well in writing classes. And when you do well at something and you enjoy it, it sort of motivates you to keep pushing and keep doing it. And I will say throughout my career, I have always gravitated towards jobs that involved writing. Uh, I have worked in a corporate communications environment. When I was in law school, I found the least legal jobs, but the most writing related. So, it's a really fun way to explore your passions. And for me, I think it sort of helped me create a really meandering path of how I got to where I am. But I spent many years sort of honing my skills in a professional environment. And then when I decided to take the leap to go to the creative side, I felt like I had sort of a background that I already knew I was going to be a good writer if I was going to do the professional stuff. But, the challenge for me was, could I do it in a creative sense? And I was a little bit scared and nervous about it, but I kept going back to, well, I've done it professionally for many years. That can't be that hard to transition. Of course, it was harder than I thought, because nothing comes easy when you're really passionate and you want to do something to the best of your abilities. And so you work harder and you're challenging yourself, and you're, in a way, I think a little bit, very high standards. I had, I wanted this to be something that I was proud of and that I wouldn't be embarrassed if somebody said, oh, you wrote that book? And so for me, having really high standards, I think it pushed me to limits that were beyond what I had originally thought I was capable of. And I'm glad that I have that sort of mentality when I try and do something. And, for me, anxiety is a great motivator. There's the saying, I think Billie Jean King said, pressure is a privilege. And I really have found that to be the core of my existence.
that is certainly indeed as well too. Pressure being a privilege, and of course you being in law school. How'd you first, get into law school, and what was the idea behind it?
When I was in college, I took pre-law classes, and I found that I was so good at scheduling that I would
Oh
have
wow.
extra time before I graduated. So I said, well, I have my practical pre-law degree that I'll get, but you know what? I really love English. And so I think I can add that into my course studies and be able to graduate in 4 years, and I'll have a double major. So I added in English as my second major. And in the back of my mind, I said, I want to do something that, I'll pay the bills when I graduate, but I don't know what. And at the time, I didn't know enough about business school to say maybe that's the right step for me. And graduate school seemed like it was too specific. I didn't know what I wanted to focus on. But law school was 3 years, and you could probably do just about anything with a law degree, whether it's practicing law or doing something else. And so for me, I thought that having a law degree would give me the most opportunities once I graduated and not pigeonhole me into a specific field of study. And I think what actually came out of law school, because I'll admit I didn't love it, it was incredibly hard and incredibly stressful. And again, that motivated me to work hard and push the limits of what I thought I was capable of. But when I graduated, having a bar exam that I passed in 2 states that said, well, this girl must be sort of smart. So it ended up helping me in the job market. And ultimately, having that piece of paper that said she accomplished something was kind of the ticket to where I was able to advance my career professionally. And then, give me the confidence to take those risks in business that I might not have taken had I not had the courage and confidence from my years of experience.
And that's being a strategic communications consultant at Deloitte, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I just want to double check on that one. And plus, you also had a couple of books out there, part of the Camp Hillside series. There's Miscommunicamp, Her Camp. We'll get to that with author Steph Katzovi. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by SoundCloud Studios. Visit online at SoundCloudStudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. SoundCloud Studios is the answer. SoundCloud Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give an official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. It takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those who love you to first go missing. It's available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing by Me and Molson Z has got great reviews. And Evil Evan George by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassie, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today before it goes. Missing by Me and Molson Z, available on Amazon. Coming soon, Missing 2, Double the Suspense, Double the Fun. Check it out on Amazon. Also brought to you by the Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of David, including 30 exquisite paintings and King David Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives a new perspective of David through the Psalms he wrote and as the time of a shepherd where it started, and complicate your turbulent relationship with King Saul. It's a story of love, betrayal, repentance, hope, and more. Check out the Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner on Amazon. Keyword Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner. Also check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com. 50 podcast platforms, 110 countries. Tickets with you on any mobile device. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok. Also Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, and more. For t-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies, Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast 24/7. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/me and Molson Zia. Great books, merchandise, and more. And support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. We're here with amazing New York City children's author who began her career in the 3rd grade, declaring she's going to be an author, and she became one. Steph Katzovi here on the Mike Wagner Show. And before we get to our Camp Hillside series, you've been writing for quite some time. And after making an announcement, who are some of your favorite authors and writers growing up? How are your favorite books?
I think, if I had to narrow it down, there were a bunch of authors when I was really little that I loved their style of writing. I think Beverly Cleary had quirky characters that you just had to love. The Ramona series. I don't know if you remember it, but it was the
Ramona,
annoying little
yes,
sister.
yes, Ramona, that's right.
And you kind of, you saw yourself in her because she was just a little bit of a pain in the butt, but she was also sweet and endearing. And that really was a character that I loved how Beverly Cleary was able to just, she was so amazing at developing characters that you just could really visualize. And the same, I think, for Judy Blume, another adolescent author that had a huge impact on me. Just the way she wrote the dialogue, you felt like you were just sitting and watching, the action happen right in front of you, even though they were on the pages of the book. And so over the years, that sort of seeped into my inner conscience. And I think as I became a writer, that was what I was trying to emulate with the way I write and my style, which, I try to inject a lot of humor, characters that are memorable. And, in my case, I have some characters that you love to hate, but you could probably pick them out in your own world if you were walking down the street or in a classroom or somewhere. And, it's just, I think the power of an amazing writer helps transplant you into the setting of the book. And for me, one of the greatest joys and bittersweet happiness that I feel when I read is that when you end a really good book, you're kind of sad to see it end. And, I hope that I get that with my work, but, as a reader, that's something that I strive for, when I pick up a book. And now as a writer, it's the same thing I try and do when I'm creating the stories myself.
That is so amazing. It made me think of The Princess Bride, the
I
little
love
boy
that.
hated the book, and he's like, "Is that all, Grandpa? I want to hear more. I'll come back tomorrow." Yeah, as a Mr. Columbo, that was a great story right there.
Yeah.
Reading books and everything. That's right. And how about your other favorite books as well?
I think for me, I also really like historical fiction, but I have yet to tackle that as my own sort of brand of writing. I know how much work goes into, researching something in history, but if I could have another chance at writing some other kind of book, it might be to take a peek into historical fiction and see where I could go with that. But I think that's a huge effort, and I really can just maybe for now appreciate somebody that's an amazing historical fiction writer. I mean, there's so many out there that I probably will forget them all as I remember them all, but just a lot. I think the world has so many great writers that if I tried to narrow it down, I would then forget, oh, but I also really love this person, this style. And so I'm sorry that I kind of worked my way around the question, but it's a tough one to try and narrow down the world
No,
of literature. I mean, I could say
no, no,
like William Shakespeare.
no, don't worry about it. There's some favorite books out there, people can pick up. One of my favorites besides the Bible is what was it? How to win friends and influence people,
Hmm.
Dale Carnegie. And I
Yeah.
think there was one that Stephen Covey, and of course I read some books about Larry King, like Tell It to the King. And I
Hmm.
think there was also something about Rush Limbaugh, sports books, and Jim Bouton's Ball Four, and love reading humor and everything else. But inspirational books like that, just get going and whatever
Yeah.
else. Now, getting back to historical fiction as well, what subject would you cover and turn to fiction?
Oh, I don't know. I am a lover of history, and there's so many different periods of history that are fascinating and interesting. I love any show, frankly, that's got a British accent involved. So,
Oh,
so
nice.
anything like turn of the century, World War II, going back to the 1700s and Revolutionary War. I there's so much to be learned from history, and I think that's probably the root of why I enjoy historical fiction so much. It's because, you know, for me, going back to square one to see, how did this impact what happened at the present time that it occurred, and then what are the effects that happened into the future? Like, how is this impacting our daily life? And I'm guessing that that's probably why I'm drawn to history. Also, probably because I was really good at history when I was in school. So I think that I've always held on to that. I had a better memory when I was younger, so I could remember facts and figures and dates much better than I can now. But, for me, it's remembering my kid's birthday, my husband's birthday, and my anniversary. And I think as long as I get those down, I'm good.
And I think that's great as well too. You create some history yourself with the Camp Hillside series with her camp and Miscommunicamp, and it's about 11 3/4 old Noodle Newman. And usually say about close to 12, 11 3/4 old. I never heard of that. So
So it was a fun way to just, make the character shine in a way that she's not exactly 12, but she's almost there. And you know how kids often want to feel like they're older than they actually are. And so for me, I'm a birthday girl of August, and I'm the end of August. So I always was the youngest in my class. And I think it comes from me feeling like I was always the little kid in the classroom, even though, I wasn't physically little, but age-wise, I was amongst the youngest. And I think that's sort of a nod to my own birthday. And that's why she's three quarters and not a whole number.
okay, I could see it right there. And of course, the first book is about Noodle going to camp for the first time and becomes a disaster. Oh no.
Yeah. Well, as they say, you write what you know. And my first time at sleepaway camp, it was a disaster. Not because there was a storm, but because I don't think I was really ready to embrace the camp experience. And I was horribly homesick and spent the time that I was away wishing I were somewhere else, mainly back in my house with my nice clean sheets in my bedroom, my mom's good cooking, you know.
Don't we all miss mom's cooking? I gotta say
Yes,
that. So,
absolutely. But for me, writing this book was almost a chance for me to go back and rewrite the history that I wish I had if I were a more self-aware child. The essence of the book, and I will spoil it for anybody, so cover your ears if you don't want to hear the ending, but she ends up loving sleepaway camp, and it's because she changed her attitude and found her inner confidence. And using that, she was able to overcome being homesick, and she was open to the camp experience and embracing all the amazing things that can happen when you're independent and you're growing up and all the benefits that come with that. So it's a fun way to explore that. And if I had done that, I'm sure that my childhood would have been a little bit different than the day camps I went to after.
Right. And Crow's a great place to make new friends as well and new memories.
That's right, exactly. And I think, that's one of the great things about being open to an experience is you never know where it's going to take you.
Exactly, yeah. And this goes into a Miscommunicamp with the Camp Hillside series. Why is there a Miscommunicamp? We'll find out when met with author Steph Katzovi. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show, themikewagnershow.com, powered by SoundCloud Studios, brought to you by official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson's Missing, available on Amazon. The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of David, including 30 exquisite paintings and King David Psalms. Join the journey of David, Amazon.com, keyword Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner. We'll be back with the multi-talented New York City children's author Steph Katzovi after this timeout. We're back with author Steph Katzovi of the Camp Hillside series, Her Camp and Miscommunicamp here on the Mike Wagner Show. We covered the Her Camp. Now we go into Miscommunicamp and tell us about that, where Noodle goes to camp. It's basically coming back, and this time she's got friends and her own radio show.
Yes. Who knew? This is a perfect match. Yeah. This book is about having a second chance in a way. And Noodle, the main character, has amazing plans for the summer. She's got a whole group of friends. She's got this radio show, and it's immensely popular. And of course, as much as you can plan in life, the more you plan, the more things go wrong. And so she had her sights set on having the perfect summer where it's all fun and all happiness and blue skies. And since this book is around, I don't know, over 100 pages, obviously it doesn't go as according to plan. And in this case, she has a falling out with one of her best friends. And ultimately, again, I'll spoil it, but since this is a PG children's book, things end up working out, but it's a bit messy on the road to that process. And again, this is about discovering the challenges that come with growing up. And in Noodle's case, it's about being good at communicating when you are upset about something. And she doesn't say what she's upset about to her friend, and her friend doesn't say what's upsetting to her. And then they have a big blow up and get lost in the woods. So it's kind of a far-fetched story, but actually takes elements of my life with different friends you've had. And then I also incorporate stories that my children have because they're away at sleepaway camp. And they have some stories that I can share on air and many stories that I don't think would be appropriate for the audience as they are boys.
That's perfectly okay. That's why we're here. So we're glad we're not FCC regulated. I got to say, look, I just let out a secret, folks.
Oh, goodness. But it's fun to borrow from real life because I think that authenticity that comes from somebody's story makes it even better. And, of course, to make it a great story that's fun and engaging for kids, I love to embellish and take something at one level and blow it up to an even bigger level. And that makes for a really fun story and hopefully a page turner.
It certainly does. And what was the idea about having the radio show? Was she get involved in radio or try to run a radio station back in the day?
She basically is sort of a host with comedic skills. And as a funny story, when I was in college, I wanted to get a job to get a little extra spending money, and I ended up interning at a radio station.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I wasn't on the air initially. I was usually just helping out behind the scenes, and I would help write and do different, go get this, go get that. And
a gopher, in other words. Yes, that's a good.
Yes, that's a nice way of putting it. And the station was an FM station, but they also had an AM arm, and it was manned or there were two DJs that worked long shifts. And since it was AM and that wasn't a big money maker for the station, they didn't put a lot of time and effort in. But one day, one of the DJs called in sick, and I happened to have been at the station doing my gophering work, and they said, "Steph, would you like to be on air?" And I said, "Oh gosh, that sounds pretty interesting." And
okay.
I assume I don't have a radio background, but I know how to talk and I can figure instructions out. So I had to play music and do a little, prelude to the songs.
Like banter and all that stuff. Yes, you've been really good at it, I got to say.
Well, as it turns out, I ended up being pretty good at it. So the first day I didn't mess up and I followed the directions and they asked if I wanted to come back again. So throughout the last, year of my college, I'm on this AM radio station and it was the tagline was the music of your life, and it was music starting from the 30s all the way up through current era. So
Oh yeah, like a big band, classic sound, everything
yeah,
like that, song of your life. I worked at some of those. It's almost like some of the music just brings back the memories and just emulates how you present. That
yeah.
type of format was very fun to work with. Very fun.
Well, it was great because they said, all right, you choose one song from every decade and you could do one novelty song, which is like a really funny song that has really no place on pop music except that it's, fascinating and it's either really quirky or it's really silly. And I had such a great time and I didn't talk too much because I was still a little nervous about over talking and I, had
Right.
no
Yeah.
no
Uh-huh.
training. And when I graduated from college, I was on my last show, and nobody that was listening to the radio knew I was a college student. They just thought I was this DJ that appeared out of nowhere. And so I said, I'm going to be signing off for in a few minutes. I'll be exploring new opportunities. Thank you so much for listening. It's been a lot of fun. And people actually called into the station and said, "You were amazing. We're really going to miss you. What are you going to do?" And then I said, "Oh, I'm graduating from college." And they were absolutely floored that I was this college student because I played things from the 30s and 40s and, way back when. It was a
Uh-huh.
really surreal experience, but I just assumed nobody was listening. But it turns out there were people listening. And I surprised myself that I was a good radio DJ.
And people are listening to you right now on the podcast, Mike Wagner Show, and some of the other podcasts you've been on. And of course, I also thought about, since we're on the Camp Hillside series with Miscommunicamp and Her Camp, I was thinking Alan Sherman's Camp Granada would have been perfect.
Oh, yeah, that would have been a novelty song. There was
I,
one that I love called Beans in My Ears. I don't know what era that was from, but I think it was the 40s or 50s. It's a really, really funny song with a very catchy chorus, and I love to play that, but I would only do it every 2 weeks so that nobody would catch on that that was my favorite novelty song.
right. Or it's just like you had Benny Hill with Shaving Cream. That was fun. Anything
Uh-huh.
by Dr. Demento was on the air, Fish Heads. And we had
Mm-hmm.
some music. We're in Chicago. Jonathan Brandmeier had some really parody songs, Steve Dahl, Gary Meyer, and all that. So it's like, I mean, parody was king. And it's like you create your own
Mm-hmm.
stuff and people just love listening to it. So it's like, I just miss novelty radio. I got to say that. Of course, you can get it online, but it's not as fun just being the actual radio itself. So.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It's not a pop hit, it's probably not going to be as popular.
Right, exactly. And then eventually her dreams is of radio is going to be successful, but then it ends up like that, she ends up having a good time anyway.
Exactly. And in my story, there's always something that goes wrong and then goes right. So I won't spoil that part, but something goes horribly wrong on the radio, and she's got to figure out how to get over the embarrassment of what it is. So that's the
Exactly.
teaser.
And that's a big key as well too. And what do you want readers to get from the books?
I think for me, the reason that I write is to create connections with people. I love talking to kids, especially those that have read my book and they're like, this was the best book I ever read. I really love this story. Why did you write this? Why did you write that? It just kind of opens doors. And a lot of what I write about are life lessons that I've learned looking back on my childhood. And for me to communicate, things like empathy, friendship, common adolescent themes that you just are all part of the growing up process, and that frankly we repeat as adults in different forms. The more that I can create a positive character that just emulates positivity, great values, things that make you think, things that make you want to become a better person. I hope that I capture that in my work, and that's really what I hope people take away when they finish my book.
And encourage kids to go to camp. That's another one too. So
Yeah, there's a lot that comes from that. I think, camp's an amazing place to find yourself, to grow in and be independent, and to take risks that you might not have taken if you grow up in the same small town or whatever size town you're from. You have to think about this is how people see you, and at camp you can sort of try something else out and see if that fits, and then take that back home with you.
I think that's a great thing. And where can we find all your books at? Miss Community Camp, Her Camp, and more. Where can we find them at?
Well, you can find them on Amazon, of course. They're also on barnesandnoble.com and other major online retailers. And you can visit my website, www.stephkatzovi.com, and you can find different links there and also read my blogs or check out my media appearances, which this will be on very soon once this broadcasts, and I can't wait to share it with you.
That sounds great. Well, make sure we do that. We're here with amazing multi-talent author Steph Katzovi of her camp, Miscommunicamp, part of the Campside Hillside series here on the Mike Wagner Show. And Steph, just a few more things. What else can we expect in 2025 and beyond?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I am working on my third book in the series. And the more I talk about it on podcasts, the more I'm motivated to make sure that I stay focused and I keep on my schedule that I've created to make sure it's out and into the world as soon as possible. But right now, I've got the first draft written and hopefully will not be too tied up in the editing process, which takes almost as long as the writing process, I've
Oh my
discovered.
gosh.
And then just, being out and about in the world, hopefully writing more blogs, which I love doing, and meeting more people and connecting with great folks like yourself, and just promoting being a good person and positive values.
And that's certainly amazing as well with great people like you, a big influence. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
I think if my mom is listening, I would say the first person that I would go to is her. She's a teacher by training, but she was somebody that taught me to love reading and to support and foster my love of writing. And so I have to give a big shout out to her. I'd also say that all the teachers that I had that were encouraging of my writing when I was little, I'm sure they did not expect me to become what I did, but they saw that I had potential. And I look back on my childhood, and it's amazing that what positive reinforcement and just great feedback on your work and helping me improve has had an enormous impact on where I was able to go in my life. And I think just giving kids confidence and support is an amazing thing that teachers can provide. So I have to also give a big shout out to the educators of the world.
And certainly a lot of great praise indeed as well. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
I think for me, it's being persistent and being confident that if you're putting the work in and you are taking every opportunity that comes your way or creating opportunities that may not look like an opportunity, but are opportunities in disguise, and just being open to different experiences that can enhance who you are, what you want to be, what you want to be, or, how you can support the passions that you have in life and make it for a happier and healthier existence.
And certainly great as well, too. Truly amazing. We're here with author Steph Katzovi of Miscommunicamp and her camp card, the Camp Hillside series here on the Mike Wagner Show. Steph, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Learned a lot. Looking forward to having soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Laugh at be back. And what's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your books?
StephKatzovi.com is the best place to find all of the resources, but any great search on a browser will also lead you to me. It's Steph with a PH and a Katzovi, and hopefully you'll look me up. I love to hear from people, and I look forward to what the future holds.
And certainly will do as well. Once again, Steph, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Laugh at you back. We wish all best. And Steph, you definitely have a great future ahead of you.
Thank you so much, Mike. This was a real pleasure.